If you want to be there to make money, the years when you used parliament to make money are long gone. You know, Fred, let me break it in 1 minute. A current member of parliament takes away a gross pay of 890,000. Upon taxation, it comes to about 620,000. If you happen to take mortgage, and of course you know most of them will come from rural as representatives of the people to come to Nairobi. If you take that thing, you know, people have been calling mortgage of 20 million. Remember, unlike other civil servants, you have to repay it within 4 years. What does it mean? That you are paying over 580 from your salary per month. What does that leave you within 620,000? I'm telling you, it is barely 40,000. If you happen to take the car loan, which people also say, oh, there are bigger cars in town, I can tell you, you essentially have nothing. And at the risk of embarrassing my colleagues, let me say that our members of parliament are taking home barely nothing. I know several members of parliament who are taking home below 5,000. So what we've done is that we need to reorganize our constitution. You know, in our constitution we decided to describe representatives of the people as state officers. And we say full-time state officers should not engage in any other business. We keep saying that if you go to places like the House of Commons in the United Kingdom, you go to the House of Congress in the United States, the pay could be low against the per capita of the nation. But remember, those are members of parliament who only feature in parliament when there is a business they are passionate about. Otherwise, they are not there. They are running their private businesses. I was in the House of Commons the other day. There is no parking for cars. There are parkings for bicycles. People ride there. You do your small business and you walk away.
And that is something about how they spend their money, because you're talking about a mortgage of 20 million shillings, an SUV to ride in Nairobi. If you're only here for 4 years and you go back to your rural area, do you really need to spend that much? 800,000 for each and every member of parliament. We're talking about 349 members of the National Assembly, 67 members of the Senate. Clearly, this audit team is not speaking from a point of no information, really.
I think all in all, in terms of reducing the number of our representatives, both at national and county level, I agree with them. And I've all along been saying Kenya does not need 2 levels of national chambers. I want again to repeat, we do not need that kind of representation. However, when it comes to the issue of pay, what I think we need to do something. I think we need to reduce. But I find from this report, it's good. It's going to make the country. So at least you agree you need to reduce the salary paid to members of parliament? No, I don't think they are talking of salary pay.
To reduce what?
Over reduce what I'm saying, and I want you to get me right, is the number of representatives. Like Kaluma will be very sharp person to tell you each and every member in the house. We are too many, and many of us have not done anything in that house. Not even some of them most likely have not even spoken in that house. So I think we need to.
What about the matter of the salaries? Because they've quoted that, they've confirmed that the number of MPs is above global average, and MPs are some of the most highly paid globally. No. I think that is populism. What do you mean they are highly paid? Of course, there are members of parliament that will not accept that they're highly paid.
You know, one thing that and we are on national television, you can see very, very clearly that on matters of common interest, our 2 members of parliament who have come from different political, and which tells you something. The thing we're always talking about, the most organized people are the political elite. You can see it clearly, and I'm very happy we even gave them an opportunity to speak before I speak. I can say from an economic point of view, and I've not interacted with the report, I can come with a statistic. It is correct Kenyan members of parliament are some of the highest paid. When you now look at the per capita, you compare the incomes that we have vis-a-vis what members are paid. Yes. Of course, at times the realities of being a legislator is what, for example, I would agree. For example, our members of the public see legislators at times as ATMs. So it becomes, we do not get the complete narrative about the impact of a salary of a member of parliament vis-a-vis the needs. Here you are, some members of parliament wake up every morning and the first thing they see is fundraising, school fees, you know, all those things. But if Kaluma and my brother is that, well, if on objective analysis of the issues presented in the table, it is factual that our members of parliament are some of the highest paid. What they have put before is the realities on the ground, which we can have a debate on. But what is very clear, and we can defend the figures, is that our legislators are some of the highest paid. I have not interacted through the report. One of the things I would have expected from the report, Kaluma, being a member of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, is also, for example, we have commissioners. I know we're going to get new commissioners. I think for a long time we need to start interrogating, separating, for example, management and the commission, and make them to be like a board. Let them serve part-time, because when you have them being there, so that this engagement on reducing the costs of the wage bill is actually not only targeted at the legislators and the MCAs. Usually we lose the narrative when we only make it on the political side. But if it is an equation where everybody needs to bear, it has to be across the divide, so that we can all contribute towards the...
And among the recommendations is that the members to high-paying independent commissions should be restricted to between 3 and 5. Of course, right now you're already talking about 7 members, 7 commissioners for the IEBC.
Yes, Fred, my policy has been that we should have not more than 3. You know, I was giving an example here the other day that even IEBC, you remember CORD was proposing a maximum of 5. Yes. It was the Jubilee position that we go to 7. Because of this thing we call regional balance and representation. But if you go to, you know, the Electoral Commission, like in India, with a voting population of nearly 900 million now, I mean, you have a single commissioner with a well-functioning secretariat. That is what we have around. What business do you have so many people whose only, you know, work is to give strategic and policy directions? But Fred, let me make an indication. You know, there is the thinking that if you have commissioners serving on part-time, then you spend less on them. It is not so. Remember, I don't know where the Salaries and Remuneration Commission came from with this thing, but any time commissioners meet, the members of the commission earn 40,000, you know, net pay, 40,000 shillings. It's a salary of 2 primary school teachers, actually 3 primary teachers in a monthly salary, in a monthly salary. And then the chair earns 50,000. And then you remember we made noise, and of course, you know, we reduced the number of possible meetings in a month to a bare number of 8. The allowances and small things they pick around when they go for those meetings, you cannot count them. So the idea is not to make them part-time. The idea is to reduce the number, in my view, from the current maximum of 9 to a number that is 3, and we ensure ethnic and regional balance in commissions looked at together. But Fred, you know, I'm very happy with these things people keep saying. Implementation is very difficult. It is never easy. I don't want to belabor the idea of, you know, the salary of MPs. But let me tell people, and I've said it here before, and you remember, Fred, I'm the only MP who earns 0 pay from Parliament. And I keep saying...
According to the media.
Yes, I keep saying there is nothing to earn from Parliament. This 800,000 shillings gross pay we earn from Parliament is not 1 over 10 of what I was earning in my legal practice, private legal practice. And Mr. Kimosop will tell you, that is the earning of a lawyer working outside there on a file. If you want me to take it away, that's a file's, you know, earning. If you want me to reduce it, I have a situation in which you still allow me to practice. I go to court even now, but you are told because you are a full-time state officer under the Constitution, you can only act pro bono, you know, free of charge. The last thing I need to say in terms of reality is that we may easily say we want to reduce the numbers of, you know, legislators and others. But then, let me tell you, it is not as easy as that. I'm one lawyer who participated in the delimitation of these boundaries on the set criteria under the constitution. It is not easy. If, for instance, you go and tell the people of Homa Bay town now that you are going back to the larger Rangwe, there were clan, cultural, geographical, you know, environmental, so many issues determining the limitation. Remember, at the very last phase of it, Banakimosov, a team of 5 judges were sitting as a bench to resolve those disputes. And I remember moving them from Nairobi to Kisii to Western Kenya across the country. It's a very emotive issue in terms of our cultural and societal patterns. And it is not something I can tell you that you may just, you know, suggest and unbank.
But what about this? And I know it's not a very popular suggestion, but what is the point of having a senator and a woman representative, for example?
Affirmative action.
Just simply affirmative action.
Yes.
So that will cost us more, because
it is not simply.
We have to appreciate.
And by the way, before you say, by the way, let me tell you, even in our, it is also happening in our neighboring countries, like Uganda. I've just come from there, where they have district MPs. And the district, actually I think their district there is equivalent to our county here. But I think this is a conversation that we need to take it to the masses. And we hear more, because I come from Machakos County. I don't know the last time I hosted either a senator or the person you have talked about.
The women representative.
Yes. When I go home, sometimes even my villagers, they keep on coming. Even the person they have there in the name of the MCA, they claim they don't see him. Okay? So in this case, when we engage in this debate of reducing our people representing us, I think we need to engage more. What do we want from them? I think once that one is very clear, I'm sure we'll be in a position to engage in a very healthy debate as far as reducing this number of our representatives is concerned.
I think let's appreciate that for a long time our country has been is a patriarchal society. So leadership was associated with men, and even parliament, before they reconfigure it from the way it's now a house shoe, it used to be opposition to the left. Then you could see it was a manly, masculine, very masculine environment. So what we were missing, what Barack told us, Obama, that 50% of the members of the team were not on board. So it is a step in the right direction to have a significant percentage. Imagine leaving 51% of the population out of decision making. There are some gender blinds that we do not have, that we have because of not having women in parliament. There are some dimensions. I remember Njoki Ndung'u, when she was pushing the issues of the zero rating of sanitary towels, and she spoke, and not only she spoke as a legislator, but also who understood the cost of some of. So there are dimensions they bring on board. Let us appreciate that.
But Banakimoso, it would be argued that at a time when we have a woman running for president of the United States, we have a woman as a British Prime Minister, we have a woman as a Chancellor in Germany, we have a woman as a President in Prime Minister in Canada. Shouldn't we be spending more resources trying to encourage more women to run for elected positions instead of giving them for free of charge and blowing up the...
How old is the U.S. democracy? It's over 1775. Rwanda has a historical dimension, the genocide. You remember they lost a lot of men in the process, and so let's also appreciate that it is important to give a critical percentage of our population platforms. Now the problem we have is that we should now therefore see the translation of increased number of women in parliament to better articulation of issues that concern not only women alone, but also society.
Is that what is happening with the women representative component in parliament? That issues to do with women are better represented? Because even parliament failed to pass the two-thirds gender rule with all this inclusion.
Two things. Democracy is the best model of governance we have in the world today. Acknowledge, no debate. Second, democracy is a very expensive, mode of governance, because you want as many voices across our societies to be heard. Actually, democracy is the idea that people participate in their governance, and that participation is through representation. You know, this debate about, you know, the leaders, elected leaders or nominated leaders being so many, is a debate about nothing. It is a debate, it is to me diversionary.
No.
It is diversionary. Let me tell you why. You know, we are busy here saying the salaries of members of parliament, Fred, is eating away so much from our budget.
Well, you're so many.
How much do parliaments, and when I talk of parliaments, put the National Assembly, Senate, and even county assemblies as levels of representation, how much do they take out of the national budget, for instance, of 2.3 trillion today? I can tell you barely 50 billion. Barely 50 billion. And remember, the last audit, you are told that more than a third of our 2.3 trillion is going to corruption. That is over 750 billion. So you are being told run after that fox. Leaders are eating too much, yet we are losing money. I'm saying we are losing 750 billion and over to corruption, and we are fighting over 50 billion being earned by people to give us voices. But let me come to the idea of women representation, and we put it at a neat and square level. You know, Rwanda has achieved it because of their constitutional framework. That suggestion that I see these people making. They don't go electing individual. The doctrine we call, first past the post.
Yes.
They elect parties. That is also the case for South Africa. Fred, I dare tell you that if we were electing individuals in South Africa, Zuma would have not been president. I observed those elections. But they elect the party, and the party gets votes. As many votes as the party gets entitle them to a number of representatives in proportion. So it is calculated, you got this number of votes against this total cast,
and that is a proposal.
Then, yes, the party is required to give a zebra list from the beginning. Man, woman, man, woman, man, woman. So according to the proportionate number of electors you have, the line is cut, and whoever is up there is given. Now, what you lose in that model is also there. And this is the case with Rwanda and South Africa, that the people do not directly then elect their representative. Once you have that list of people along whom the line is drawn, they are designated by the party. Kaluma, go to Kirinyaga. Francis, go to Homa Bay Town. What does Francis know about Homa Bay Town? Remember, the challenge we have with the representation of women at our levels of leadership has been one, as I end. That through marriage, women leave their societies and go to other societies, the societies of men. Kenya being a patriarchal, state, as he was saying. So you can imagine Kaluma, who is being elected by people he played with, people he grazed animals with, people he has drunk bad water with, against a person who has just come from nowhere. And even women will tell you, we prefer our sons and husbands. Why? Because they have grown through the problems. That is the idea of representation. You must be able to proffer better solutions than a stranger coming like me. So you have these hindrances about women representation. But I can tell you, in terms of constitutional amendments, Fred, we needed to do something more. I personally thought that this thing we call the 47 seats for affirmative action, Kimosop, would be something like an incubator. You identify role leadership capacities in individuals who don't have a proper platform, and you bring them in. They do one term, and then they go fight it out with men in the constituencies where they are married. And I dare say, if you look at the people we ended up electing as women representatives, there are people who needed no support or platform to fight it with fellow women. They were mostly people who would fight it. In Nairobi, Rachel Shebesh can fight it with any man. In Nyeri town, Mama Mary Wambui could fight it with any man. In Homa Bay currently, my good friend Gladys Wanga can fight it out in any constituency. But they also do not want to move to constituencies to up their numbers in parliament. They are saying this is easier.
And what you're talking about,
I would be for a total overhaul. And remember, this will require being representational.
So you're actually saying we should adopt this because according to the proposal, according to the audit, the new system, the system I was talking about, Because they're saying on managing the number of MPs to ensuring equity and representation, the report called for introduction of mixed member proportional representation, where Kenyans vote for political parties, which will then directly nominate MPs according to their vote strength. Exactly what Bwana Kaluma was talking about. Do you agree that probably that's the way to go?
It is a surprise. You know, I am one of the persons in Parliament who interact with Kaluma. And you know, even when we were setting up this committee, he was passionate about what he had said. I'm wondering, how comes eventually they have come, they are speaking the same language. But I want to correct my friend, the women, Nyeri, women rep, I think is somebody in Nyokabi.
Priscilla Nyokabi.
Priscilla Nyokabi. Priscilla. I think not Wambui.
Not Wambui. Wambui is a member.
Wambui is a constituency.
Now, I agree.
We should go
through this recommendation. A great mind like my good friend Kaluma will not forever serve this country in the level of representation, but not at the whim of an individual, as it is the case now. This recommendation, if we implement as a country, will ensure we have at least a maximum of 2 or 3 serious political organizations in this country, as opposed to current situation where we might end up actually having almost political parties which are equal to the number of counties that we have. Currently, so strange, an area like Machakos County, I was counting last night, we have almost 7 political parties. One county. One county. I don't know where we are heading, but through this recommendation, I'm assuring you,
it will work.
It will work.
Let's also appreciate that the Wanjiku, during the constitutional review process, made some comments. One of them that the people said in their public submission is that as much as we would want to have accountable leaders, they said they insisted they wanted to elect specifically, for example, the president. They also, the people of Homa Bay and the people of Machakos County wanted to ensure that the person whom they send to Parliament is somebody they've elected. So for me, this is a proposal, mixed proportionate representation, whereby you are balancing things that the secret ballots cannot solve. Because ask yourself, how comes of all the senators who were elected, all of them were men? How comes of all the governors who were elected, all of them were men? Because for our society, leadership has been projected as a masculine thing. How do we achieve, for example, affirmative action or a requirement that all positions that are elected should be 2/3 of it should not be of the same gender? How do you balance that, for example, vis-a-vis the Council of Governors?
So are you for this proposal?
I think for me is that let's balance the elements of good intentions vis-a-vis what the people are saying, the realities on the ground. Because I'll tell you this, today Gladys Wanga, having been given a platform through the women representative position, has been able to demonstrate that in terms of our level of articulations of issues, her level, a grasp even of the issues, and actually you can see she's even now a chairperson of a political party or at the county level. I can tell you, Kaluma, who comes from Homa Bay, together with Gladys Wanga, on any position they can compete and the best will emerge. But let's also appreciate that not all women have been able to benefit and have been able to grow to the level of where Gladys Wanga is. So that is a selected case. But we now want to ensure that these voices are given the platform, they are nurtured, and they are facilitated, because they are our sisters, they are our mothers. So they should be having a voice in this. I'll tell you this, and I won't just give a story. I used to stay in Jamhuri a few years ago. And because when we graduated, one of my classmates called Jackie, she actually got a child. You know, ladies move faster than the men. So we decided as classmates, can we go and visit one of our own who has gotten a baby? Now, during the discussions, Fred, and I'm happy to share this story, that we had a series of blackouts in Jamhuri for some time. And do you know what happened? She had been preparing to go back to work, so she had been expressing and storing the milk in the freezer. So for our whole week, we had a problem with the power blackouts. Can you imagine? Close to 2-3 liters was spoiled. And you know, it's an expensive, very difficult venture. For me, when there is blackout as a man, I'll not shower with a cold shower. I'll not watch news at night. But for her as a lady, when there is no power, what happens? So some of those dimensions make a difference when we are making policy making.
Okay. Anyway, that report has been presented, and we await to see what you people will decide on it. But incidentally, connected to the other issue of how much members of parliament, how much members of the National Assembly earn, we have another story where we are seeing ex-members of parliament seeking 100,000 shillings monthly pay as pension. Going forward, and about 370 former MPs have petitioned the National Assembly to change the law so that they start receiving 100,000 shillings as monthly pension. We're already complaining that we are paying the current members of parliament a bit too much. Now we see that even those who are no longer representing us want more.
What is a pension? You know, a society is recognizing that you served in public service and you served in a position where you should be given a respectable life. You know, when you stop serving. Fred, look at it this way. The pensions for members of parliament are only, you know, allowed to members of parliament who serve at least 2 terms. What is unique about 2? You can take 2 terms, but you do nothing there. Like in the current term, my brother will tell you there are 27 MPs who have not said even thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. But they're running. There are MPs you can't remember when you saw them in parliament, you know, dealing with, you know, public issues. But they're running. You can go there purposively the way some of us went. And then I'm saying I want to go for this term to achieve such and such policy and legislative interventions for our people. Once you do them, you leave. Why shouldn't you be given, you know, pensions? So you look at it, Fred. See the lives of all members of parliament who sees representation. And by the way, once you see representation like Kaluma, who is this who is going to employ some honorable Kaluma in this office?
Why not?
Somewhere?
But you can go back to your law firm.
They don't, I can tell you. For us as lawyers, we can run our law firms. And by the way, I continue to run my own. What of other professions? If you leave engineering, architecture and others. I mean, all these Bachelor of Arts people, what are they doing after being called honorable member? Now, what I'm saying is very simple. And remember, during that period, you're not allowed to do anything. You're a state officer. So you disband, essentially. Same for us with law firms like Kaluma, we can still go to on a Friday like this. You get what I'm talking about? So it is never, you know, as easy as our people want to think. Okay. It is never as easy as our people
do you support this, that we should pay 100,000 to former members of parliament monthly? 370 of them.
Fred, I want to say 2 or 3 points. One is today, I and Kaluma, and I'm sure, and even anyone in that house, we are ready to go home with 10,000, provided Kimsov, Fred, Mwangangi, and Kaluma, you do the following. If I go to constituency today, and I find an orphan who is at home because he or she doesn't have anyone to pay for his or her fees, you just give me a form. I don't want you a single shilling, so that I can recommend to somebody somewhere, please, this kid needs to be in school. And because I'm the one, you know, Kimosop, I don't know whether since the last time we were here, whether you went home. I've been there several times and doing serious programs. There are serious challenges. You go...
Even for a former member of parliament?
Former is worse.
Former is a pension. This is just a pension.
Fred, have you seen the lifetime of former members of parliament? I mean, in Kisia Krosi, I would not mention the member of parliament. But your own papers had it there. That this gentleman served the nation. the guy has to undergo kidney dialysis. He can't afford it. See the rate at which former members of parliament die when they cease representation. Is that the image of leadership you want to represent to the society? An image where you are telling the young, when you cease to be a leader, this is how you will look. Go to Garden Square.
So this is something you support as well.
There is also another
I'll
thing.
give you an opportunity.
There is this U.S. or let's talk of practice in other countries, like specifically U.S. If you have a project here worth a serious amount of money and it is financed from U.S., the lobbies you see here coming to lobby for their corporations, for their what, for this to be done, former leaders, former elected leaders. They have a role to play in their country. So I support this.
But because they don't perform any specific role in our context.
I think I hear the case is made in terms of a life of a member of parliament. But you know, when you apply for a certain job, Kaluma, you also need to appreciate that the reality is that I might be out of job after 5 years.
But in which profession and their pension?
I think I have Mr.
Yes.
Speaker. Protect me on the floor. The reality is that if you apply for a certain job, there are certain expectations and risks that you are taking. For me, I am an economist. If tomorrow morning I am a member of parliament for a constituency in Kenya, because I have a right under Article 38 to run if I want to run, I know that if the people of that constituency, I come from Baringo North, if they don't give me a chance after 5 years,
take notes.
After 5 years, if they don't give, I will go back to consulting. I run a consulting firm. For me, what we do not need, there is a case for people who've served, and you also serve for a certain term, because these issues of giving people pension after 5 years, if you become a member of parliament at the age of 24, because there are people who've become members of parliament at the age of 20, and you serve only for 5 years. And you will continue so I think what we need, Kaluma, is to make a case. There's something wrong, because pensions are given nationally when people attain the age of 55.
You know,
so I
Fred,
think that conversation is incomplete.
Fred, let me just
we need to take a break.
Yeah, just a sentence. You know, Fred, make a decision. If you want to elect all the people, elect them. But pension should be available to people who take the leadership, duty of representation.
But
number two, let us not lower the ideal of leadership so much. I mean, in which profession, whether you are a teacher, don't we have retirement benefits?
We do, but you are doing.